Hi guys, it's Mrs. Ogle back again. I sure do miss being in the classroom with you, but in the meantime, I hope you're working on those packets that we're sending home. Maybe you're watching some of the videos, and this is a great video set to get in on because we've got some really good hands-on stuff for you to learn about. We're going to talk about the life cycle of plants. Now, we talked about life cycles when we were doing butterflies and caterpillars, right? And they start as an egg and then become a caterpillar, chrysalis, and eventually a butterfly. And butterflies lay eggs, and that life cycle starts all over again. Well, plants have a life cycle too. They start one way and change and grow to become something else. So, before we can talk about the life cycle of plants, we have some other things we have to figure out first. First of all, what is a plant? I want you to think about that question for a minute. What makes a plant? Are trees a plant? Yeah, trees are plants. What about ladybugs? Are they plants? No, that's not a plant. What about a flower? Is that a plant? Sure, a flower is a plant. What about a bird? Is that a plant? No, plants and animals are different things. A plant is a living organism such as a tree, a flower, or a bush. Those are some of the most common categories of plants that we talk about. They typically live in a fixed location, which means most plants don't really travel very much. Now, they do grow and they get bigger, and some plants, like vines, can actually spread along the ground, but their root system tends to start and stay at the same place. And plants are important to a healthy planet and to healthy people. Plants are really important because they take some of the waste that we give off when we talk and they turn it back into oxygen that we need to live and breathe. And where we live in Illinois, there are lots of plants all around us. Starting about now, the farmers are in the field and they're busy planting corn and beans and other important foods that we can eat. Yep, plants can feed us too, can't they? Maybe you've had a garden where you've gotten tomatoes and carrots in the past. Or maybe you've eaten bananas and apples that grow from a tree. Did you know that? Those all require plants. We need plants to help keep us happy and healthy. So those are some of the things we know about plants. But what do plants need to grow? Here's a picture of a plant in the middle and some things around the outside of it. Some of these things are things that plants need, but some of them aren't things that would help a plant to grow. So let's look at just a couple of them at a time. This is the sun, and this is a donut. Do you think a plant needs a donut to help it grow, or the sun to help it grow? Think for just a moment. If you're sitting with your grown-up, tell them which you think a plant will need to grow, a donut or the sun. Did you say the sun? I bet you did. I bet you knew that. People, a lot of times, like donuts, but they're maybe not the best food for a plant. Let's look over here. Here's this picture that shows us some air, and here are eggs. Which do you think a plant needs to grow? Do they need air or do they need eggs? Think for a second and talk to your grown-up about it. Plants definitely need some air to help them grow. That's true. Okay, we're going to look at two more. This one says soil with nutrients, and this is a glass of orange juice. What do you think the plant would like to have? Soil with nutrients or juice? What's going to be more important to help that plant grow? Did you say soil with nutrients? I bet you did. I know you guys are pretty smart. The plant needs dirt, which is the same thing we sometimes call soil, dirt and soil. And if it has nutrients, that's like the vitamins that we need to keep our bodies strong. All right, last one, might be tricky. Does a plant need a sandwich or water? Which do you think the plant would rather have to grow strong? Water or a sandwich? Did you say water? Good job, guys. Thumbs up work. Now, a lot of these things are the same things that people need. People need sunshine is good for us. It provides us with some of the vitamins that we need. And boy, it feels good to get out and get some sunshine. People need to stay warm, just like plants need to stay at a certain temperature. We need air to breathe, just like plants need air, don't they? Soil with nutrients is really important to plants. Now, you and I don't need soil with nutrients, but that's where a plant gets its food. Do you need food? You do. Yep. So we're kind of like plants that we both need our own type of healthy food to eat. And we need water just like plants need water. Now, different plants need different kinds of these type of things. Some plants grow in really sandy areas, and they don't need such dark dark brown or dark black soil with lots and lots of nutrients. But some plants grow really well even in rocky areas. So different plants need different types of soil, and different plants need more or less water. Cactuses don't usually need very much water at all, but other plants need to be watered almost every day. But all plants need all of these things to help them grow and get bigger. So let's talk about the life cycle of a plant. How does a plant start? Well, a plant starts as a little seed. And most of the time, when we're ready to get it started, when we want a plant to grow, we put it in the dirt. Now, it's a seedling when it starts to develop roots. Did you know the roots grow before we ever see anything above the soil? The roots grow down. And then a sprout is what we call it when we start to see a little bit of green coming through the dirt. A lot of times when a plant sprouts, it's still got the shell from its seed attached. Yep, that's true. It can do that. And then eventually it turns into the full grown plant that we were expecting to see. Now, just because it's a plant doesn't mean it won't keep changing. Where we live in Illinois, we see plants change all the time. We see trees change every year with the way their leaves grow, and they stay up nice and green. We might get some seeds, we might get some nuts, we might get some apples. And then in the fall, their leaves change color and all fall to the ground, right? Yep. So just because a plant is full grown doesn't mean it won't keep changing. And an important part of the life cycle of a plant is that eventually they release their seeds in one way or another, and then the life cycle can start over again. Pretty cool how plants can have their own process of the life cycle, and they can keep going so there's more and more plants for us. So the first step of that is seeds. These are some pictures of different types of seeds, and I want to talk to you about these. So these right here are apple seeds. If you planted them in nice, rich soil with lots of nutrients and took really good care of them, eventually you might get an apple tree. This is an acorn. Acorns grow into really big, strong trees too. Here are sunflower seeds. Now, sunflower seeds are some types of seeds that are actually edible. Some people like to chew on them or taste the flavors, but they're actually something that you could eat. Now, you should check with your grown-ups before you eat any kinds of seeds like that, but they'll grow into new sunflowers. These are dried beans. Now, these are important. We're going to talk about these in a little bit. These are dried beans, and they'll grow into bean plants. And here we have a flower, or actually a weed, called a dandelion. Dandelions go through some really cool changes too, but once they change over into this stage where they're really white and fluffy, the wind will blow those. Those are their seeds. The wind blows those all over the place, and new dandelions start popping up. They spread their seeds without ever moving. And so one dandelion in one corner of your yard can turn into that white puffy flower that when I was a kid, I used to like to pick it and blow it and send those seeds all over the place. And the next thing you know, you might have more dandelions all over your yard because of how the seeds were spread. Let's look at some seedlings after that. Seedlings are what we call the process of when it's just starting to grow. So down here, we'll see that these plants all have just a little bit of root and just a little bit of green starting to show. So when they're really young plants, They're called seedlings. Some seedlings actually do better starting off in a cup inside. So I'm trying to start my very first garden this year. I've never done it before. But what I learned is that certain seeds need their soil to be nice and warm before they can grow. So you can plant them in a cup, and when the soil is warm enough outside, you can move them to the outside dirt. So this one is actually my own little start of a tomato plant. I hope I will be eating fresh tomatoes off of that this year. So some plants and seeds do better when the soil is warm. If it's not warm where you're at, you might be able to get away with starting them in a cup. And then these ones were started straight outside. After a seedling, we call it a plant shoot or a sprout. This is when it starts to get bigger and we start to see what it's going to look like as a grown-up plant. I loved this picture because I can really see the roots here. This looks like it's going to turn into a tree, doesn't it? I think so. Look at all of those roots. Did you know for most trees, the roots underground are as big as the branches and leaves above the tree? And in this one, I think it's even bigger. Look how many roots they've got spreading all out, and just a tiny little start of the leaves here. I think that's pretty cool. These plant shoots look like they're either in a garden or maybe in a farmer's field. I bet those are going to turn into some yummy vegetables for people to eat. And then look at all the different plants that we actually have in our world. So here you see a tree. Do you know what vegetable they are? Some people say they're a vegetable. I think actually they're a fruit. That's a tomato. These are beautiful red roses over here. And down here, this is a fruit or a food. It's a vegetable, but it's called a root vegetable, which means the part that we eat actually stays underground. Those are carrots. Yeah, they're carrots. I love to eat carrots, hoping maybe I'll get some carrots in my garden this year too. So that's the life cycle of plants. I want to do an experiment with you guys, okay? So in your learning packet this week, you should have gotten some dry beans, a paper towel, and a Ziploc bag. Now, if you want to, you can put your beans in a small bowl full of water overnight. If you do that, the experiment will move a little faster starting the next day. But what you're going to do is you're going to get your paper towel wet and you're going to fold it up nicely and put it inside your Ziploc bag. And then you're going to set all of the beans on one side so they're not squished in the middle of your paper towel. You want to be able to see the beans on one side. And you're going to tape that Ziploc bag to a window. Now, if you don't want to get your paper towel wet with your own hands, you can fold it up nicely while it's still dry, put it in that Ziploc bag, and just pour some water in there. That paper towel will soak up all that water and it'll get your beans nice and wet anyway. So if you don't want to get your hands too wet or if you don't like that, that's okay. Then you're going to tape it up. So here's what that's going to look like. These are Mrs. Ogle's. I actually did that. This is my bird feeder. And these are my 4 bean sprouts. Now, I put these up here on a Sunday. Put them up on a Sunday. I didn't soak mine overnight. So those beans were really dry when they got hung up. And it took them until Wednesday. But look at this. I see all 4 of them have shoots growing down. And you can see I got my paper towel good and wet. There's still water inside that Ziploc bag. Now, if you soak your beans overnight, they'll start sprouting even faster than that. You'll probably start to see some changes, maybe even on day 2 instead of day 4 like Mrs. Ogle had. I think this is a really great experiment to see what's happening as a life cycle of a bean gets started. Now, mine are still in there and it's Friday, so maybe they're going to keep growing even bigger. Now, we talked about the things that a plant needs. A plant needs water. Well, it's got water because that baggie is pretty wet. It's got sunshine because it's taped up to the window. It does have some air in that Ziploc, but maybe not a lot of air. And it doesn't have nutrients with soil. So if I really want these beans to grow and give me yummy food that I can eat, I'm going to have to take them pretty soon and put them out in that garden I'm trying to get started, aren't I? Yep, I'm going to think about doing that maybe on Saturday this weekend and see if I can't turn them into some real foods that we can actually eat. I think that would be pretty awesome. So here's what we're going to do. Today is Friday. I hope that you will get your beans taped up to your window either today or if you soak them overnight, maybe tomorrow. And then I want you to write down what you're seeing. So use your best listening ears to talk about what you saw, and then listen to the sounds that you hear in those words. We used words like life cycle, seed, bean, shoot, sprout. Can you use some of those words to describe what you're seeing? And over in this box, I want you to draw me a picture. The first day, you're probably just going to draw me a picture of some beans. There's not going to be a whole lot of change. But maybe on day 2 or day 3, you're going to need to add some little roots to the bottom of your pictures as you start to see it grow. I want you to do that every day until we get together again on next Friday, maybe 5 times. Do you think you can do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times for me? And then I want us to look at how your bean sprouts are doing. Talk it over with your grown-ups. Say, what should I do when I'm done with my bean sprouts? Some of you might even be able to plant them in your gardens or in your yards. And if you think your grown-up will help you, you can let Mrs. Ogle know, and we will be glad to send you some flower seeds so you can keep growing new plants. If you have any questions, I want you to have your grown-up call or email me. We can do a Zoom meeting or a telephone call, and I'll make sure to answer any questions you've got. Would love to hear what you're learning about with the life cycle of plants through your bean sprouts. I hope you guys are having a great day. I will talk to you later. Bye.